Biden's decision to slap tariffs on Chinese goods because he was, in your words, quote, standing up for American workers, unquote. So specifically on China, can you detail what exactly you would be doing differently than President Trump?
Well, let's keep in mind, tariffs can be an important tool in the toolbox when used in targeted ways. But right now what we've got is chaos and corruption. Donald Trump has imposed a tariff on everyone, everywhere, on all products. That's the 10% tariff. Of course, it was much higher earlier in the week. And now in this trade war with China that basically tries to shut down all trade. And then, right out in plain view, as if the chaos weren't enough, he adds a nice layer of corruption for everyone to see, and that is a special deal for his CEO donor, and that is an exception to the China deal for iPhones. Look, here's the problem. You can't get an economy strong and moving forward when it's loaded with chaos and corruption. Investors will not invest in the United States when Donald Trump is playing red light, green light with tariffs and saying, oh, and for my special donors, you get a special exception. People make investment decisions that are years into the future. If they're going to build a factory or they're going to rehab an old factory or buy a bunch of new tools. And right now with Donald Trump, nobody can figure out what the rules will be 5 days from now, much less 5 years from now. That's a real hit to our economy and to developing more manufacturing here in the United States.
So on Wednesday, the president announced a pause on most of the tariffs, a 90-day pause, except for the ones on China and except for the 10% across the board. You called for the SEC to investigate whether President Trump intentionally manipulated the market or covered for insider trading when he told Americans on Truth Social and in the Oval Office that they should go invest in the stock market before he announced that pause on the tariffs, and the market soared afterwards. Have you seen any actual evidence that insider trading was going on instead of the just general advice he gave for people to invest?
Well, there are people who have looked at what happened to purchases and to calls just before he made that announcement that caused the stock market to skyrocket. But let me be clear with the back and forth here. That's what investigations are for. And it's entirely appropriate to have an investigation to make sure that Donald Trump, Donald Trump's family, Donald Trump's inner circle didn't get advance information and trade on that information. This is just, this is how the stock market works in order to make sure on a consistent basis that nobody's trading on inside information. And by the way, Jake, the same thing should apply to Congress. And that is, we should have a rule that no one in Congress can trade in any individual stocks. No senator, no representative. I've had that bill for a long time. It's got a lot of support. In fact, it's got some bipartisan support. I think now would be a good time to get it across the finish line and get our representatives out of the business of trading in individual stocks. The American people should never have to wonder when the president, when his cabinet, when members of Congress are making a decision, whether it's for the good of the country or for the good of their own bank account.
Let me ask